Hello everyone, and welcome back to World of Warships Blitz with Terry. Today we are looking at a ship that I am not sure if it's already out at this point, because I'm pre-recording and I have no idea if, when or how or in what fashion, manner or form this is going to be released, so don't ask, I don't know. But this is the Hector, and I'm not going to call it HMS Hector because this is actually on the Commonwealth tech. Well, it's not a tech tree per se, there's just a bunch of premiums, but it is on the Commonwealth line at tier 9. It does look distinctly town cruiserish, and if we're looking at the blurb that Wargaming has left, there's a lot of would have, could have sort of thing in here. If Great Britain had decided to build full-sized AA defense cruisers, could have been implemented that embodied an AA defense cruiser based on the whole of a Belfast class. This doesn't all look like a Belfast to me, but okay. So what is the Hector then? Well, first of all, it's flying a British flag, so I have no idea what bit of Commonwealth it was actually meant to be at, and if it's an Australian ship or a Canadian or what it is. But well, it's a light cruiser at tier 9, and look at the gun layout. Look at what is. Look at the front. We've got a diamond pattern turret layout. So somebody's like, oh, that looks like a nice platform. Let's put some more turrets on it, shall we? Because wing turrets surely have their use still in the late 1930s. So yes, this thing has got a lot of guns. It's sort of almost an Atlanta-ish kind of design in that. She's got, by the looks of it, destroyer guns, and we've got 3 super firing turrets aft and 4 super firing turrets forward, because the 2 of them sit next to each other. Anyway, let's start taking a look, and the obvious comparison that we're going to have to do at tier 9 is against a British existing light cruiser, HMS Neptune. Well, not existing in reality, but existing in the game. And the Neptune, in my opinion, is one of the best tier 9 light cruisers. I mean, with the advent of the Pan-Asian light cruisers, but they're more scout cruisers, really. The Neptune is an overall excellent ship, in my personal opinion, and I thoroughly enjoyed playing that thing. So let's compare the Hector. The first thing that you might notice, and if you have noticed, you're much more eagle-eyed than me, because I actually didn't notice until I had a couple of test rounds in, is the smoke screen. And this is a different icon, because this is a new kind of smoke screen. Already my smoke screen overview video is out of date. Thank you, Wargaming. This is a crawling smoke generator, and as the name implies, you have to crawl. I mean, you can take it with you. It's kind of a halfway fuel smoke. You can't go full speed, but if you go half speed, you can take it with you. So it has a very long duration, but the individual puffs don't last particularly long. So it's 9-second puff generation, and we've got a 42-second duration of setting the smoke screen. So you can sort of, what it tells you is that you can sort of for 50 seconds sail around at half speed in a smoke screen, which is a nice thing to have, really. You can also sit still, and nobody prevents you from doing so. It's just that you can also not. Right? You can take it with you. You can't just take it with you at full speed. That would be a fuel smoke, which this isn't. So we've got 2 charges of that, and we get a Def AA 3. So okay, they definitely want to go down the route of, yes, this would have been an AA cruiser sort of design from the British side, sort of Royal Seattle or something like that. And whereas the Neptune only gets the very old Def AA 1. We're also getting single-fire torpedoes. This is true and also not quite what you would expect. Because while normally you would, if you single-fire the torpedoes, you get all the torpedoes coming out at the same angle, which isn't technically quite correct because the launchers are not sitting on top of each other. I mean, at least I assume they don't. But on the Hector, that's not quite the case. So while you do get to single-fire your torpedoes, they are coming in two lines, sort of, that are on a very slightly different angle, which is quite interesting. It doesn't make a huge difference, it's just something I figured out worth noting. And she also gets sonar, which is much appreciated. And if we look at the comparison, the first thing that we notice is that the Hector has no health for tier 9. 27,000 hit points at tier 9 in a light cruiser. Now she better have good maneuverability. And as it turns out, she does. I mean, it's not great, but 7.5 base turn time is something that we can work with on the rudder. And the 10-second time to full speed is pretty good as well. Plus you get the Crawley smokescreen that you can take with you. Whereas the Neptune is a bit on the sluggish side and does need to watch out where she's putting herself in a lot more than this thing. Now the guns, again, this is a completely hypothetical design. You get 133mm guns, which are probably secondaries, battleship secondaries, dual-purpose guns. And while you do have 14 of them compared to the 12 on the Neptune, you're not always going to get all 14 on target because of the diamond layout in the forward turrets. So at times you're going to have to most of the time you're only going to get 12 on target, same as the Neptune. And there, the guns are not quite as good, obviously, because despite the fact that they're 133s, their reload is actually slower than the Neptune 152s. So when it comes to gun power, she's not quite there. Definitely not. Well, she can fire HE, but with a 3% fire chance, it's not massive. It's doable, you can set some fires, but the guns, weirdly enough, are not really the main feature of this ship. It's the torpedoes. Because while she gets technically the same almost the same torpedoes as the Neptune, she gets the same 16 of them. She gets a 47-second reload on 16 torpedoes at tier 9. And she even has a better range on these things. They don't do quite as much damage as on the Neptune, but the difference is really negligible. But 47-second base reload on the torpedoes, 16 of them, with a sort of fuel smoke and single fire torpedoes, please sign me up. The AA is a bit weird because I was expecting this to be a, by description, dedicated AA cruiser to be for the AA to be pretty good. It turns out it really isn't. I mean, it's not bad with the Def AA3 enabled, but Neptune's got a good range on the AA, especially also on a small caliber. And I would say she's probably about on par with the Neptune. So you're not in a Seattle, you're not in a dedicated AA ship, but you can make yourself somewhat useful in shooting down aircraft. Now, the other big difference between this thing and the Neptune is the surface detection. This is a sub 8 kilometer base detection, which means you're kind of in a Sejong almost. In fact, I think you are so much kind of in one of those that I want to bring that in, and let's add that to the comparison and see how different these two are. Because, well, the Sejong gets the regular fuel smoke and also gets the Def AA, but does get the torpedo reload and the deep water torpedoes. The Hector is a little bit better in terms of hit points, but not an awful lot. And they're pretty much on par in terms of maneuverability. Now, the Sejong's guns, I would say, with a 3.5% fire chance, probably mostly on par. But the big question is, how do the torpedoes compare? And obviously there, the Sejong has the advantage because she's got the torpedo reload, and the torpedo do noticeably more damage, have a better range, they're faster, do more flooding, but she doesn't get the single fire capability that you have. And the Sejong also has AA that's actually useful, whereas the Hector not quite. Still, she actually beats the Sejong in concealment. So with such a really good base concealment, you could ask yourself, well, how do you set the ship up? Well, you really have two options. Let's get to it. First of all, the elite bonus, and that's where it comes in a little bit disappointing because none of these is particularly useful. You could get main battery traverse speed, which you don't really need, ship speed, and 5% large caliber AA, or AA spec for large and smaller caliber AA damage improved. That said, the AA isn't quite there. So doing a dedicated AA build is probably not really the thing I was going to go for. So I figured I'll take the 3% speed and think about it that way. Now, equipment-wise, here is the big question. There are a couple of builds, and I think after testing, I would probably build the ship differently. So this was my original attempt, where I said, okay, the base maneuverability is decent, but it's not quite where I want it to be, and the base concealment is pretty decent as well, so we can live with that. Using main battery mod 2, just to get more shells on target. I would probably switch to main battery mod 3, because the dispersion can be really, really funky on these guns, and getting a little bit out of that would probably the way I would play it. And in slot 3 is the big question. Do you want to go for steering, or do you want to go for concealment? I think after testing, in retrospect, I think what I would probably go for concealment. So the previous one was the one I have tested with. This is the and what you're going to be seeing in the battles. But looking back, this is probably going to be the style I would be playing the ship. And you have an option also in the first slot. If you want to really help with AA, you could get a bit of AA range, and you could get small caliber AA damage. The problem with the second slot always is that the small caliber AA damage really doesn't help on most ships too much, especially with the 1.8 kilometer range, now which you can improve here on the first one. But I think more for a general purpose build, I would go like this after doing some testing. But the games you're going to be seeing are still going to be played with main battery mod 2 and with the steering gear modification. As is usual, I have played with two rounds, one with a just stock standard setup, no special camo, and a regular commander. And the second one, I don't have a legendary commander from the Commonwealth line. I don't even know if there is one. There might be. I just haven't found them, but I certainly don't have one in the press account, so that's what you're getting. Plus sonar, plus air defense alert, plus the air defense expert is a no-brainer, because the sonar already easily negates the necessity for the torpedo alert. Using artillery maintenance on a ship that doesn't have that much hit points, you can, but you can also use preheating to get into position first. So with a concealment build, I'd probably be going preheating. Daredevil is what I'm using, although you could go for survivalist, especially if you're planning to play with premium consumables. But it's not an HP build. There's not an awful lot of HP, so if you're struggling to manage your AP, that'd be an option. Exploit weakness. You could also go recon. That is not a terrible choice, but given that I feel like this is more like a British Pan-Asian scout cruiser sort of ship. Felt like that was a good choice. Then Mistweaver is an obvious choice, because you have a 42 second duration on the smokescreen, and you get plus 15% on that. So a nice 6 extra seconds there. Given that you don't have anything here, nothing makes an awful lot of sense. And I have used the armor-piercing cap gel because, again, 130 is not really going to matter all that much. Yeah, you might be in a pinch able to penetrate more. I was figuring more that at range against destroyers that would be a more useful skill. And then the obvious choice here is the Giant Hunter for more torpedo damage. Have I looked at the historical camo? I think I haven't. You actually get a choice between two camouflages. You get the historical camo, which looks mildly Japanese, but sort of pretty still. 4% hit points, 4% range. Large caliber AA range, which is decent. That's a good thing to have. And again, torpedo damage reduction is completely and utterly useless for you. Alternatively, you can make it look like a leprechaun. And if you don't mind the color scheme, then you can get hit points, range, max traverse speed, and surface detection, which I personally think is the much better camouflage to have stats-wise. So if you have this camo around, or you can get your hands on it, or you don't mind well, looking like this, then stats-wise, as usual, the alternate camo is the better one. It's just a pain. So, no, I'm not doing it. We are playing with the historical camouflage. Anyway, that's that. And let's see how this British variant of a Pan-Asian scout cruiser is playing. In the first round, we are top tier and playing Epicenter Cage against August von Parseval, Double Izumo, Johan de Witt, Amalfi, Kitakaze, and a Jutland. Now, in this round, I've sort of tried to play towards the support cruiser role, rather than in a Pan-Asian light cruiser. You're not playing support cruiser. You're playing damage dealer. You're playing like a scout cruiser, like an oversized destroyer. This ship is sort of a little bit of both, in a way, given the creeping smoke that you can actually use to, to a degree, smoke up your teammates. She's got the defensive AA, so I really wanted to test out what I can do in a support cruiser role in this ship, especially that there's a carrier, and the carrier is probably going to be going for either the friendly carrier or it's going for the Freddy there, and there is already a Sejong on our team, which is going to be playing probably more of a free roaming scout cruiser damage dealing role. So I figured, well, I'll park myself behind the island, give some AA support for what it's worth, and there comes the carrier, and he sees obviously unreleased ship, goes, oh, must try, and yeah, that's a German carrier. That hurts. That could have hurt a lot more, so I think I got away here with not too much. But that's my first heal down, and we've got 5 planes shot down, which is okay, but not massive. Okay, Amalfi spotted, and I'm almost in position, but I am going to start using my smoke here, because I am spotted. And I'm not sure why I'm spotted, to be honest, because there are no bots here. So I think, okay, now I'm unspotted. I think something is a little wonky here with that smoke. I'm not sure if we're seeing the old bug resurfacing of where the smoke screens take a couple of seconds to take effect. But now I'm finally in my smoke, setting fires on the Amalfi. I'm going to see if I can get a permafire going. So as you can see, you can totally just go back and forth in place, or just also sit in your smoke. It's just also that you can, if you need to, take the smoke with you. So it looks like we are not getting anywhere with contesting the center cup at this point, but I am trying to set some fires on the Amalfi to support our destroyers. And yes, my smoke has now expired, so we do have to be a little careful again, and giving AA cover to the Freddy that's right behind me. Freddy is not pushing, which is a little unfortunate, and I'm sitting right in front of a battleship is also not the best position to be, because you're taking some incoming fire. Sonar up just in case there's anything else coming in, but it looks like the Amalfi for now has been evicted, and we might be able to take the center cup. Fletcher and Huguemo have taken position, and unfortunately there is a Dutch cruiser, which means that thing's going to start airstriking, which is rather unfortunate. So I'm switching to the armor piercing to hopefully help out against the Jutland over there. Fletcher goes for it, but I think that's brave, but also suicidal, given that there's an Amalfi out there, and a Johan de Witt, and a Jutland, and a carrier. So to nobody's great surprise, and a Kitakaze, the Fletcher has just suicided by running into the enemy team. And the Freddy has taken out the enemy carrier. Well done, Freddy. So that carrier must have been a little too aggressive. Back to setting fires to things. There's the Johan de Witt still, and hopefully Freddy can now make something happen. We are still holding the center cap. That Jutland is still in a dangerous position, and the friendly destroyer is now evacuating, because he's seen the Johan de Witt coming, and he's like, nope, I'm out of here. Jutland is buggering off as well, but yeah, it's going to drop obviously smoke and torpedoes. So back to setting fires on the Johan de Witt. Maybe we can help out there a little bit and push that one out of the capture circle. The friendly carrier is helping in the outer ring, but that's also a relatively aggressive position. Let's see if we can deal with the Jutland. But given that our destroyer has suicided, and our other destroyer has for obvious reasons evacuated the capture circle because that is a Dutch cruiser, and that's unless the Freddy blabs that thing in the side, which would be much appreciated. Nothing much is happening. Freddy could be pushing here at this point. That would be great, but probably too afraid of the torpedo threat and is playing long range Freddy, which isn't really what the Freddy excel. Pavita, what are you doing? Carrier? No, bad idea. Bad carrier. Don't go back. Ergo maneuver. Go back. Yeah. The Johan de Witt is not having any of that. Once again, set fire. I'm gonna try and do something about the Jutland, and I'll try to back off. Yeah, I think the carrier just realized that he pulled an ergo maneuver, and but I don't think he caught himself in time. I will try to take out the Jutland if I can, and I'm already laying smoke, trying to get myself backed because it's a half-speed smoke to get myself back into next to the carrier to smoke him up maybe, but I think they can't. Yeah, no, the Johan de Witt takes him out. And there's a full health Izumo back there who's just been sniping, and the Freddy's left it a little too long. So I think at this point there's one destroyer left from our side, which is kind of going around the long way here. But we haven't done anything about the cruisers, and I'm not sure. I think the Freddy is trying to. I don't know what he's shooting at, but I mean, there's an Amalfi right there. Maybe he's shooting at the de Witt. That would be also worth. Yeah, and he goes undetected. Also worthwhile, but you know. I think, Kitakaze takes out the Freddy, and I think that's about game. So at this point, I have managed to hit something with the torpedo, but yeah, Kitakaze is going to come around. There's one destroyer left on the other side, and there's no need to unnecessarily prolong that. Let's send some torpedoes out if the Kitakaze comes around, and then get the heck out of there. But it really doesn't matter anymore. And up there he comes. If I had single fired these, he'd be dead, because right now he takes 4 torpedoes, but he can actually sustain that. Now he's not going to hit me with the torpedoes, but I don't think I can still get him before I actually get killed, because there's really not an awful lot left here to do. We have shot 14 planes down, which isn't monstrous. I mean, it's not bad, but like I said, it's pretty much similar. I'm just going to die here now. Don't want to drag it out any longer, because we've lost anyway. It's about on par with what you can expect in a Neptune, and the guns are not quite there where a Neptune would be. Definitely not. So this is not a gun cruiser. So, playing as a support cruiser sort of works a little bit, but really you're not making the impact on the battle that you want to be making. And it's better to play at the scout cruiser direction. Which brings us to the second round, which is a 4v4 domination battle on Typhoon's Eye. 4v4s can be quite fun because you've got a lot of bots to distract things, and it can be interesting and engaging at times. But let's see how it goes. Especially with smoke screens, bot-heavy games are always a problem because bots negate smoke screens. And as we've already seen, smoke screens might be a little sketchy to begin with and take a couple of seconds to actually activate. But it's double Izumo, was a Wichita, and I think a Chungmu or something. Anyway, much more scout cruiser-like play. And this is also when I realized, okay, yes, I'm really going to have to change my build here towards something that gets a concealment build, because that'll also allow you to stealth torpedo to a degree. And these torpedoes can be quite funky in single fire mode. And as you can see, the spread's actually a little wider than you normally see on the single fire mode, and that's because the two launchers are having slightly different angles. So your torpedoes are not going to all go in a straight line, but in a slight pattern, which I personally actually prefer. First of all, because it makes sense, and second of all, because you get a narrow spread, sort of narrower than a usual narrow spread, but also not as pinpoint as a single spread. So you get a little bit of a spread by itself. Anyway, I've taken the first capture circle. Obviously, there is going to be something around, so I'm going to hang around behind the island here to just shield myself from whatever is incoming and switch to armor piercing against destroyers if necessary. And there is an enemy Izumo, so back to the high explosive. I am obviously spotted because whatever destroyer has taken the capture circle. Okay, it's just bot destroyers, so it's not a huge issue. But Izumo is going to come around the corner, and I mean, you can't really blame the Izumo. He obviously doesn't know that I have torpedoes. I mean, it's a Commonwealth cruiser, so it's not even clear that it's a British ship. Obviously, Izumo is shooting at me, but has missed everything, and I'm just going to pretend that I'm dealing with bots at this point, and that I'm running away, and let's see if he runs into those torpedoes. Because he's, yeah, there you go. I mean, this is an Izumo, he's got decent torpedo protection, but so let's do that again on the other side. Let's see if he learned his lesson this time around. So there's, ow, yeah, that's where maneuverability helps you. Okay, smoke up, but again, that's a bot North Carolina, so smoke's probably going to be negated here. If I'm unlucky, yep. Smoke is negated, and I am sitting broadside onto an Izumo, which can end me, but now has an Anhalt to shoot at, which means he's once again running into all my torpedoes. Second time around, you should have probably learned it, but I mean, to be fair, maybe he thought my torpedoes were gone, and he didn't need to fear torpedoes again, but you know, always give him the benefit of the doubt when it comes to unreleased ships. Nobody actually knows what these things are capable of. North Carolina bot, and you see the torpedoes already reloaded. This is what I'm talking about. You've got an under 50-second torpedo reload. You barely have the second launcher on target, the torpedoes from the second launcher, when the first one's already reloaded. So very, very glorious torpedoes, all in all, and much more the strength of the ship. I mean, the guns are kind of neat and everything, but the torpedoes is sort of where it's at. So these torpedoes obviously not going anywhere. And interestingly enough, it looks like the enemy, the other half of the enemy team, and I haven't seen the destroyer yet, but the other half of the enemy team it seems to be completely avoiding the capture circles like the plague and sailing around about as much westernish as they can. And I have no idea what they're trying to accomplish there. But you do realize that capture circles give you points, right? That poor Chungmu. I mean, he's mostly up against bots, but that is the problem. He's up against bots, which means he can't smoke. The bots have magic torpedo dodging capabilities, and unless he's rushing and point blank firing, and the bots are randomizing their ammo loadout, which means that something like an Iowa can suddenly have the high explosive loaded at point blank range, and then blap you in the side. And so he's run into an island, and yeah, I don't think he's gonna have fun against bots. Definitely not a position I would want to be in. So I'm gonna let the bots deal with that, and the Chungmu, if he becomes a threat, I can deal with him eventually. But we haven't even lost the bot just yet, because these two clowns there have decided that they want to go the long way around and are trying to kill our Ibuki by the looks of it. So let's make our way over there and see if we can have some fun with them, shall we? That's an Izumo, so I'm going to start shooting at long range and see how much fun I can have with the guns and setting fires, because we've clearly won this game. We're holding 4 capture circles. There's no way, with 2 minutes left and these two being pretty much out of the battle at this point, there's no way that we're losing this. So I may as well just have some fun and set some fires. It's double fire on the Izumo, smoke up. Izumo Damacons, double fire obviously. Smoke still takes a little bit to activate, which I'm not too happy about, so just keep that in mind. But now I'm in the smoke, and Widget has missed. It's just following my tracers probably, but he doesn't have the range quite. And I do have to slow down again, because if I'm going full speed, I'm going to start outrunning my smoke screen. So you kind of have to go half speed, but the smoke screen is lasting forever because this is with the respective skill. He's almost out of torpedo range, but that's okay. I can just, you know, kite away. And he hasn't even managed to kill the Ibuki on our side. So he's already losing a fair amount of hit points. And if I can actually get another fire, this is why I was recommending to use the dispersion mod, because the dispersion can be a little quirky. There we go, another fire. And can he lob that? Oh, he can actually with the rear turret. That's fine. So let's shout very loud. I mean, we've won this game. Let's have some fun. Let's shout very loud and rush these two, and see if we can still sink one of them before the timer runs out. So, Leroy Jenkins. I mean, we're not getting Ruffle Stomp medal anyway, so may as well go and have some fun. But yeah, the Hector. This is a good ship. This is a really, really good ship. It's like a Neptune and Sejong had a baby, sort of kind of ship. and you get single fire torpedoes instead of the deep waters. So you can have some really good fun with these torpedoes. And I'm just going to send a widespread here just in case. Because I'm gonna die, right? It's gonna send. No, we're probably gonna be running out of points once the Izumo dies. So let's see if I can die, and then they lose enough points that they're not gonna be winning instantly. But then Izumo would have to kill me first. Come on, Izumo, you can do it. Ah, just a second too late, and I think we've timed out. I was hoping that Izumo would kill me first, and I would still get the torpedoes in on the Wichita, but it wasn't meant to be. Anyway. So play this thing like a Pan-Asian light cruiser. Be aware of the creeping fuel smoke. Be aware that this thing takes a couple of puffs to actually activate properly. And just go and have fun with the torpedoes. The guns are not terrible, but they're not the main feature of this thing, just like on the Pan-Asian lights. And yeah, be aware that you have no hit points whatsoever to work with, and you are an extremely light cruiser that sticks out of the water like the Eiffel Tower. So there you go, and there you have it. And whenever it comes out, or maybe it has already at this point when I'm releasing this video, but yeah, this is a really good ship. This is like a Pan-Asian Neptune at tier 9, and that's a fun boat. So there you have it, and that's it for me today. Thanks everybody, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.